What if the love of your life isn't who you think it is? What if everything you've been taught about soulmates, compatibility, and perfect partners is keeping you from recognizing the one relationship that could actually transform your soul? Today, we're exploring Carl Jung's profound understanding of what it means to meet the love of your life. And I'm warning you right now, this isn't going to be the romantic fairy tale you've been sold. Jung's vision of true love is deeper, more challenging, and infinitely more transformative than anything Hollywood has ever shown you. There are 5 unmistakable signs that someone is truly the love of your life according to Jungian psychology. And here's what makes this uncomfortable. The person who displays these signs might not be who you expected. They might not fit your type. They might challenge you in ways that feel more like friction than fairy tale. But if these 5 signs are present, you're encountering something rare and sacred, a relationship that has the power to make you psychologically whole. Before we dive into these signs, I want you to do something. If you've ever felt that soul-deep recognition with someone, that sense of, I know you from somewhere beyond this life, type the word love in the comments right now. Let's create some energy around this topic and help the algorithm show this video to others who need to hear it. And if you're interested in understanding relationships through the lens of Jungian psychology, make sure you're subscribed to Inner Wise Woman. We explore these depths regularly, helping you navigate love, connection, and soul growth with wisdom that goes beyond surface advice. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future content. Now let's talk about the first sign that someone is the love of your life. They mirror your unconscious. This is Jung's concept of projection, and it's the foundation of every significant relationship you'll ever have. When you meet someone who stirs something powerful in you, whether it's attraction, fascination, irritation, or an inexplicable pull, what's actually happening is that they're reflecting back parts of your own psyche that you haven't yet integrated. For women, this often manifests through what Jung called the animus, your inner masculine. The man you're irresistibly drawn to is often carrying qualities of your undeveloped animus, perhaps strength you haven't claimed, decisiveness you haven't cultivated, or freedom you haven't given yourself permission to embody. He's not just a person, he's a living mirror showing you what wants to be born within you. But here's where it gets interesting. The love of your life doesn't just mirror your potential. They also mirror your shadow, all the parts of yourself you've rejected, denied, or hidden away. This is why true love is never entirely comfortable. The person who is genuinely meant for your soul's evolution will trigger you, push your buttons, and bring up everything you've been avoiding about yourself. This might sound unromantic, but Jung understood that real love isn't about finding someone who lets you stay exactly as you are. It's about finding someone who catalyzes your becoming. The love of your life makes you face yourself, your fears, your wounds, your immature patterns, your defended places. And in that confrontation, if you're willing to do the work, you transform. Most people run from this kind of love because it's uncomfortable. They mistake the friction for incompatibility when it's actually the friction of growth. They want someone who feels easy, comfortable, unchallenging. But Jung would say, that's not love. That's avoidance of your own psychological development disguised as relationship preference. The second sign that someone is the love of your life is that they activate your individuation process. Jung believed that the ultimate purpose of human existence is individuation, becoming fully yourself, integrating all the disparate parts of your psyche into a conscious, authentic whole. And certain relationships serve as powerful catalysts for this process. When you meet the love of your life, something shifts fundamentally within you. You can no longer hide behind your persona, that social mask you've been wearing to navigate the world. This person sees through your performance to the real you underneath, and their seeing makes it impossible to keep pretending. You're forced to become more authentic, more honest, more genuinely yourself. This activation often feels destabilizing at first. You might notice yourself questioning beliefs you've held your whole life, examining patterns you've never questioned, or feeling compelled to make changes you've been avoiding. Your career that seemed fine suddenly feels meaningless. Your friendships that were comfortable suddenly feel superficial. Your lifestyle that was working suddenly feels like a cage. This isn't the relationship causing problems. It's the relationship revealing what was already true but hidden. The love of your life functions like a catalyst in a chemical reaction, accelerating processes that were already trying to happen within you. They're not creating your need for growth. They're making it undeniable. For women especially, this can be both liberating and terrifying. We're often socialized to define ourselves through relationships, to derive our identity from being a good partner, mother, daughter, or friend. When the love of your life activates your individuation, you're being called to develop an identity that's yours alone, separate from all your relational roles. This can feel like betrayal of everything you've been taught about what it means to be a woman. But Jung was adamant that you cannot truly love another person until you've individuated enough to know who you are. Otherwise, you're not in relationship. You're in fusion, dependency, or projection. The love of your life doesn't let you hide in these immature forms of connection. They demand that you show up as a whole person, which means you have to do the work of becoming one. The third sign is synchronicity. Meaningful coincidences that suggest your meeting was destined. Jung coined this term to describe events that are connected not by cause and effect, but by meaning. When someone is truly the love of your life, your meeting is typically surrounded by synchronicities that feel impossible to ignore. Maybe you were both thinking about the same obscure book when you met. Maybe you ran into each other in an unexpected place after years apart. Maybe you had a dream about someone with their exact characteristics days before meeting them. Maybe your meeting involved a series of coincidences so unlikely that it feels orchestrated by something beyond chance. These synchronicities aren't just romantic decoration. Jung believed they reveal that your psyches were already connected at a deeper level before you physically met. In the collective unconscious, that shared psychological substrate that all humans participate in, your souls were already in dialogue. The physical meeting is just the manifestation in time and space of a connection that already existed in the depths. This is why the love of your life often feels familiar even when they're a stranger. There's a sense of recognition, of coming home, of "I know you," that defies logical explanation. Your conscious mind might be meeting them for the first time, but your unconscious recognizes them as someone significant to your psychological destiny. For women who are intuitive and sensitive to these subtle realities, synchronicities are often the first sign that someone is important. You feel it before you can explain it. You know before you have evidence. And if you're paying attention, the universe confirms it through these meaningful coincidences that seem to be saying, "Pay attention to this person. They matter to your soul's journey." Jung believed that synchronicities increase when you're in a state of psychological readiness for transformation. So when multiple synchronicities surround a relationship, it suggests that both people are ready for the growth this connection will catalyze. The universe, or what Jung called the self, is arranging circumstances to support your evolution. The fourth sign that someone is the love of your life is that they embody your contrasexual archetype in a conscious way. For women, this means they personify a healthy, integrated animus, the inner masculine that Jung believed every woman carries in her unconscious. But here's the crucial distinction. They're not just projecting an idealized fantasy. They're actually embodying mature, masculine qualities that call forth your own inner strength. The love of your life doesn't rescue you, dominate you, or complete you. Instead, they inspire you to develop your own inner masculine capacities: assertiveness, decisiveness, independence, clarity of thought, and the ability to take action in the world. They don't do these things for you. They model them in a way that awakens these same qualities within you. This is radically different from the typical romantic narrative, where a strong man sweeps a woman off her feet and takes care of everything. Jung understood that this dynamic keeps both people psychologically immature. The woman never develops her own strength, and the man carries the burden of being her only source of security and direction. When someone is truly the love of your life, the dynamic is more like two wholes coming together rather than two halves seeking completion. You don't need them to be strong so you can be weak. You need them to be strong so you can discover your own strength. Their presence doesn't diminish you. It amplifies your capacity to become fully yourself. For many women, recognizing this sign requires releasing deeply conditioned fantasies about love. We've been taught to want someone who will take care of us, protect us, make decisions for us. But Jung would say this keeps us in a permanent state of psychological childhood. The love of your life actually challenges you to grow up in the best possible way, not by abandoning your feminine qualities, but by integrating your masculine ones alongside them. This also means the love of your life won't tolerate your playing small, you're pretending to be helpless, or you're manipulating through weakness. They see your full capacity and they refuse to participate in dynamics where you diminish yourself. This can feel harsh if you're used to using vulnerability as a strategy for getting care, but it's actually a profound gift. They're loving you enough to demand you step into your power. The fifth, and perhaps most important sign, is that they facilitate your shadow integration. Jung was emphatic that you cannot become whole without confronting and integrating your shadow. All those parts of yourself you've rejected, denied, or repressed because they didn't fit with your self-image or social conditioning. The love of your life will inevitably bring your shadow to the surface. Not because they're trying to hurt you, but because real intimacy makes it impossible to keep your shadow hidden. They'll trigger your jealousy, your rage, your selfishness, your neediness, your control issues, whatever you've been working hardest to hide or deny. Most relationships fail at this point because both people interpret these shadow eruptions as evidence of incompatibility. She thinks, if he really loved me, he wouldn't trigger these feelings. He thinks, if she was the right one, I wouldn't feel this way. But Jung would say the opposite is true. The person who triggers your shadow is offering you the opportunity to heal and integrate it. For women, shadow work in relationship often means confronting qualities we've been taught are unfeminine or unacceptable. Anger, aggression, selfishness, sexual desire, ambition, competitiveness. The love of your life won't let you keep these aspects of yourself locked away. They'll provoke them, reflect them, and ultimately create a safe enough space for you to own them. This is why the love of your life might make you feel crazy sometimes. They're not making you crazy. They're revealing the parts of your psyche you've been exiling. And in a truly transformative relationship, both people are willing to do this uncomfortable work. You're not just triggering each other randomly, you're serving as mirrors and catalysts for each other's wholeness. Jung believed that a relationship where both people are committed to shadow integration becomes a container for psychological alchemy. You're not just living together, you're transforming each other. The friction, the conflict, the discomfort, these aren't signs you're wrong for each other. They're signs you're doing the deep work of becoming whole individuals within a conscious partnership. Now let's talk about what these 5 signs feel like in your body and soul. Because Jung understood that true recognition happens at a level deeper than thought. When someone is the love of your life, you experience a specific quality of knowing that bypasses your rational mind entirely. There's a clarity that you cannot explain. You might not be able to articulate why this person matters so profoundly, but you know with absolute certainty that they do. This isn't the desperate certainty of infatuation or the anxious certainty of codependency. It's a calm, deep knowing that feels anchored in something beyond your personal psychology. Jung would say this clarity comes from the self, that organizing center of the psyche that's wiser than your ego. Your ego might have doubts, fears, and rational objections. But the self recognizes what's meant for your soul's evolution, and it communicates that recognition as a felt sense of rightness that doesn't require justification or proof. You also experience a peace that feels familiar, even if the relationship itself is new. There's a sense of coming home to yourself in this person's presence, not because they're making you feel safe from the world, but because they're making it safe for you to be fully yourself. You can drop your defenses, release your performance, and simply exist without constant self-monitoring or fear of judgment. This peace doesn't mean the relationship is always easy or comfortable. Remember, the love of your life is also triggering your growth, which can be turbulent. But underneath the turbulence, there's a foundational sense of, yes, this is right. This is where I'm meant to be. This is serving something important in me. For women who have spent years in relationships where they felt constantly anxious, walking on eggshells, or performing to maintain love, this piece is revolutionary. You realize you've never actually felt this before. This sense that you can breathe fully, that you don't have to manage or manipulate, that you're accepted in your totality, including your darkness and your light. Another quality you'll notice is that this person understands you on a level that feels natural and effortless. You don't have to translate yourself or explain your inner world in painstaking detail. They just get it. They see the meaning behind your words. They sense the feelings beneath your surface. They understand your references and resonances without lengthy explanation. This understanding isn't about having everything in common or being identical. Jung actually warned against relationships where people are too similar. There's no friction for growth. This understanding is more about matching at the level of psychological depth and complexity. You're both operating at similar levels of consciousness, self-awareness, and willingness to look at difficult truths. When you speak, they hear not just your words, but the soul current beneath them. When you're silent, they can sense what you're processing without demanding you perform emotional availability. They give you space to be complex, contradictory, and evolving without trying to simplify you into something more manageable. This kind of understanding is rare because it requires that both people have done significant inner work. You can't understand someone at depth if you haven't explored your own depths. You can't hold space for someone's complexity if you're afraid of your own. The love of your life meets you at the level of awareness you've cultivated, which is why timing matters so much in these connections. You might meet someone who could be the love of your life, but if you're not psychologically ready for what that relationship requires, the timing will be wrong. Jung believed that certain relationships only become possible once you've reached a certain level of individuation. You literally cannot see or appreciate what this person offers until you've done enough inner work to recognize it. This is why many women look back on past relationships and realize they weren't ready for someone who was actually good for them. You chose the exciting but unavailable person over the solid, authentic person because your psychology wasn't developed enough to value what truly matters. You needed more wounding, more lessons, more self-discovery before you could recognize and receive real love. When the timing is right and you've done enough work, your heart knows the truth before your mind does. You feel it in your body as a sense of rightness, recognition, and homecoming. Your dreams might feature this person or their qualities even before you consciously acknowledge their significance. Your intuition is absolutely certain, even when your rational mind is listing all the reasons it shouldn't work. Jung trusted this kind of bodily, intuitive knowing more than intellectual analysis. He believed the unconscious often understands what the conscious mind cannot yet see. So when every fiber of your being is saying, yes, this matters, this person is significant, even if you can't explain why, that's information worth paying attention to. Now let's address something crucial that Jung understood about the love of your life. This person isn't necessarily your easiest relationship. In fact, they're often your most challenging one, because real love, the kind that transforms your soul, isn't about comfort. It's about growth. And growth requires being pushed beyond your current edges. The love of your life will call you out when you're playing victim, hiding behind old stories, or refusing to take responsibility for your patterns. They won't coddle your wounds. They'll compassionately but firmly insist you heal them. They won't enable your self-abandonment. They'll mirror back when you're betraying yourself and demand you stop. This kind of love requires tremendous courage from both people. You have to be willing to be seen in all your imperfection, to have your shadow exposed, to fail at showing up perfectly, and still be held accountable to keep trying. For women especially, who are often socialized to equate love with unconditional acceptance of everything we do, this can feel harsh or unloving at first. But Jung distinguished between sentimental love, which is really just mutual enabling, and real love, which demands growth from both people. The love of your life loves you enough to not let you stay stuck in patterns that harm you. They see your highest potential and they refuse to accept less, even when that creates temporary conflict or discomfort. This also means you can't manipulate this person with typical relationship strategies. You can't guilt them, control them through emotional withdrawal, or shape them into who you think they should be. The love of your life has done enough of their own work that they won't participate in unconscious patterns. They'll call those patterns out and invite you into something more mature and authentic. This can feel threatening if you're used to relationships where you have more control or where your partner tolerates behavior that isn't actually serving your growth. The love of your life has boundaries, standards, and the willingness to walk away if the relationship becomes toxic or stops serving both people's evolution. This isn't coldness, it's psychological maturity. Jung also emphasized that the love of your life will activate your capacity for genuine intimacy, which is different from intensity or enmeshment. Intimacy requires that you maintain a strong sense of self, while also being deeply vulnerable and open. You're not merging into one being. You're two whole individuals choosing to witness and support each other's becoming. This kind of intimacy is only possible when you've done enough individuation work to know who you are separate from the relationship. If you're still defining yourself primarily through your partner, you can't actually be intimate. You're too busy trying to maintain the connection as your source of identity and worth. The love of your life helps you develop this capacity by refusing to be everything to you. They have their own life, interests, friendships, and inner world. They don't need you to complete them, and they don't let you make them your everything. This forces you to develop a full, rich life of your own, which paradoxically makes the relationship stronger and more sustainable. If you're recognizing these patterns in your own life and want to dive deeper into Jungian psychology for women, make sure you subscribe to Inner Wise Woman. We're building a community of women who are committed to psychological depth, authentic relating, and soul-level transformation. Hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey. So how do you know if you've found the love of your life versus just intense attraction or trauma bonding? Here's the key distinction Jung would make. The love of your life makes you more yourself, not less. After time with them, you feel more connected to your authentic self, more clear about your values and desires, more capable of standing in your truth. Trauma bonding or codependency does the opposite. It makes you smaller, more confused about who you are, more dependent on the other person's validation, more willing to betray yourself to maintain the connection. You feel anxious without them, obsessive about them, and increasingly disconnected from yourself. The love of your life might trigger your abandonment wounds or attachment patterns, but they're also creating a secure enough space for you to heal those wounds. They're not exploiting your vulnerabilities. They're holding steady while you do the work of becoming secure within yourself. Jung believed that we often meet the love of our life multiple times throughout our existence, in different forms and at different stages. It might be a romantic partner, but it could also be a deep friendship, a mentor, or even a brief encounter with someone who catalyzes a major transformation. The key isn't the form, it's the function they serve in your psychological and spiritual evolution. So if someone in your life displays these 5 signs, they mirror your unconscious, activate your individuation, arrive through synchronicity, embody healthy contrasexual energy, and facilitate shadow integration. Pay attention. This is someone significant to your soul's journey, whether or not they fit your preconceived notions of what love should look like. And remember, you recognize the love of your life not because they're perfect, but because they're perfect for your growth. They challenge you in exactly the ways you need to be challenged. They see you in exactly the ways you need to be seen. They love you enough to demand you become who you're truly meant to be. That kind of love is rare, precious, and worth every bit of the uncomfortable growth it requires. Trust the process, do your inner work, and stay open to love showing up in unexpected forms. Your soul knows who matters. Let your heart lead the way.